and welcome back to our cooking demo. My name is Ethan, and I am the program manager in Andover. For today's cooking demo, we are going to be making buffalo chicken meatballs, and while those are baking in the oven, we are actually going to put together a Greek yogurt, blue cheese, and ranch dip as well. So the first step in this is to preheat our oven to 400 degrees. I got a little bit of a jump on that so that I know it is ready to go. So the oven is currently preheating. A couple things I want to say about this recipe is it's super quick, it's super easy, and it's all made in just one dish. So helps with that cleanup as well. This is a great meal. Like I said, I'm going to have it for dinner today because I just missed my lunch window. But it also is great to have as a main entree, as a main dish, maybe throwing it over top of a salad tonight. I'm going to put it over cauliflower rice and then have some of these veggies on the side. Or you can take this as a dish to a party. So our recipe calls for, or we'll make 15 meatballs, but you can always make them smaller and make about 25 mini meatballs if you want to use them as your party dish. Also really great to meal prep. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I've already put my ground chicken, a pound of ground chicken, in the bowl that I'm going to use just to try to limit the amount of times that I'm touching it. But we're going to go ahead and add the rest of our ingredients. Like I said, it's kind of one dish and done, which is really nice. So we're going to go ahead and start by just adding one egg. So we're going to go ahead and crack that egg. And we want to make sure that we don't get any of those shells in there. All right, egg. And next we're going to add our hot sauce. So our recipe, you'll see on the recipe card, it calls for half a cup of hot sauce. We're only going to add half of that right now. So a quarter of a cup will be added right now, and then we will use the rest to drizzle on the top once they are done baking. So you can use whatever hot sauce you'd like here. Go ahead and throw in the chat what your favorite hot sauce is. I will be using Texas Pete today. And Texas Pete is a little nostalgic for me. It's the hot sauce that we had in the house growing up as a kid. But I had to take some years off of Texas Pete because while I was in college, one of my favorite meals, you know, those dorm room meals where all you have is a microwave to kind of heat up what you're eating. So one of my favorites was those cups of macaroni and cheese. You basically just add water to, and that nice fancy cheese packet. I like to add hot sauce to those mac and cheese. And I had a glass bottle of Texas Pete in my dorm room and was messing around with my friends and knocked it over and shattered the glass. And my room smelled like hot sauce for the rest of the year. So I was a little scarred from Texas Pete, but I've made my way back and I'm very excited. But throw in the chat there what your favorite hot sauces are. I love to try new ones. So we added in that quarter cup of hot sauce. Next, we are going to add in our green onions. So it calls for, what do we have? A fourth of a cup of thinly sliced green onions. Well, if you've been on my cooking demos before, you know that I'm not the best at measuring things. So I'm just going to go ahead and estimate here. I have 3 onions. I don't know why I wanted to call them stalks. I don't know the correct term, but I have 3 here. I did a little bit of research, and it said about a third or 0.3 of a bunch is a fourth of a cup. So that's what I'm going with. So I just cut off both ends here, and we're just going to finely chop these up and add them to our bowl. Adding a little bit more flavor here to our meatballs. Now, really, you could use whatever type of ground meat that you would like here. I went with chicken just because it's my favorite. Super lean, very versatile. But you can always add whatever you'd like if you'd like to try it with ground turkey or ground beef. I'm not sure how that would be with buffalo, but you'd have to let me know. Oops. That's a little bit there. Green onion added. And next we're going to go ahead and add in our almond flour. Now you'll see that on the recipe card, it says almond flour or breadcrumbs. So if you have a gluten allergy, or maybe you are watching, you are conscious of the carbs that you eat, you can go ahead and use almond flour instead. My fiance is type 1 diabetic, so she requested that we go with almond flour instead. So we've got almond flour. I will be honest, I don't bake, so I'm not super familiar with it. I'm sure that Shannon or Quincy can jump in on this, but I do have Bob's Red Mill almond flour, and admittedly, it was the only one that they had. So like I said, I don't know a ton about almond flour, but we have 1/3 of a cup going in here. And then next we will add in our spices so we can spice it up. So we are adding quite a few to this. We're going to add onion powder, and we have 1/2 teaspoon of that. Garlic powder, another 1/2 teaspoon. Salt and pepper. So for our salt, 1/2 teaspoon as well. And I actually don't have any ground pepper, so we're going to estimate again. Throw in that pepper here. All right. So now we have added, just double checking, now we have added everything to make our meatballs. This is probably, admittedly, my least favorite part, and that is mixing it all up and forming the meatballs. But here's my little tip and trick. Throw on some disposable gloves. I know, I've heard it mixes better if you use your hands, but I'm not there yet, okay? Forgive me. So throw on those disposable gloves, and we can go ahead and mix up all of those ingredients, really making sure that we get everything evenly distributed without over mixing. So it is why it's better to use the hands. I did try to skip this step one time by mixing using like a spoon or something like that, and definitely overmixed it. And instead of coming out with meatballs, I had globs. So I learned to just sacrifice and use my hands. So we are just mixing all of these up before we start to form our meatballs. Now, to form those meatballs nice and evenly, if you have a cookie scoop, you can use that. Or you can just go ahead and use a spoon. So that's what I have here today. I'm just going to use my spoon to kind of spoon it out and then form those meatballs. They're looking pretty good here. And you're just going to add them to your baking sheet lined with parchment paper. I have a silicone baking mat here that I'm going to use today. Whatever you use to line your cooking sheet with. All right, so we are all mixed up. We are going to go ahead and, oh, that's a poor cutting job there. We're going to go ahead and now form our meatballs. 15 if you are making larger size meatballs. 25 if you're making some mini meatballs like for a party. And if that's the case, you can go ahead and use a tablespoon as your scoop. So we're just going to go ahead and scoop these out and then form our meatballs and then put them right here on our baking pan. If you ever have any issues with your meatball sticking to your gloves, I don't notice it as much with ground chicken, but definitely if I've made it with ground turkey or ground beef sticks, you can go ahead and add water to your hands or to your gloves, whatever you're using, and that will help it not stick so much. It was a little big, but that's okay. Put it out. Again, like I said, this is probably my least favorite part, but it's all worth it in the end. So once we make these, we're going to put them in the oven. They're going to cook for about 20 minutes, 18 to 20 minutes. I am not having them actually until later, so I'm going to cook and then let them cool. But to reheat them up later, what I'm going to do and what I like to do with these in general is I'm going to toss them in the air fryer. So right before I eat them, they get a little crisp on them. You could always throw them in the broiler or pan sear them if you're looking to add a little bit of crisp. But as you can see, not too many ingredients here. We're baking them, so there's no extra oils added in. Very lean and filling recipe. And then you'll see here in a little bit how we're going to round this out, incorporating in a little bit more veggies and everyone's favorite dipping sauces. Whether you are team blue cheese or team ranch, I got you today. We're going to be making both. All right, just a few more here. Reposition them so they're not too close together. Although I've put them close together and it's never been like cookies, you know, when you have one massive cookie that comes out. Right. This one is a little miniature because I had that extra large one earlier. Okay, so we have all of our meatballs on our baking tray now. And so now we want to take off those gloves without touching them. So if you've ever taken a CPR test, you've kind of learned this. You can go ahead and pinch one, pull it in. We basically want to turn them inside out. And then you can take that clean thumb and slide that underneath so that we can take off our gloves without touching the outside. We're going to go ahead and toss this in the oven. It's preheated now, 400 degrees. Here's what they look like. For 18 to 20 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and set that timer. And I am just going to wash my hands just to be safe because I will be touching other ingredients that I'm going to eat here in a little bit. So pardon the sound of the water. All right. Now, while those are cooking, so like you can't have a buffalo dish without having blue cheese or ranch, right? Whichever you prefer, throw it in the chat there. What team are you? Team blue cheese or team ranch? Maybe you're like me and it depends on what you're having it with. Because for me, that kind of dictates what I'm choosing there. But I guess overall, I'd kind of go with team ranch. But don't worry, we are going to make both today. So the basis of our dips is going to be Greek yogurt. So it helps add a little bit more protein to our dish. We're going to use a cup of Greek yogurt. This is a serving size for a cup is 3/4 of a cup, so it's a little bit more than this, but 17 grams of protein. And I ended up getting the non-fat kind, so 0 grams of fat in there, rather than adding things like sour cream or mayonnaise. So we're going to start by making the ranch. It's a little bit easier. Again, it's kind of one dish and done, which is really nice. And I'm just going to put them in these so that whatever we don't eat, whatever we're storing for later, we can just toss the lid on and then serve them that way. So the first thing is to add in the Greek yogurt. So I have my food scale out here. I've converted cups to grams for the Greek yogurt rather than trying to get a cup out that way. It's just a little bit easier for me. So I'm going to go ahead and zero out my food scale. It's probably one of my favorite things that I have, just in terms of measuring out some certain things, right? Like peanut butter, some things that can be easy to add extra to without knowing. Just helps measure and get a bit more accuracy for what you're having. So we're going to go 285 grams of, this is plain Greek yogurt. I think I quadruple checked to make sure that I didn't get vanilla or any flavored Greek yogurt. $285. Almost there. All right. Perfect. I'm just going to do the other one now for the blue cheese while I have it. So this dip is great because you can also store this for days. Just put it in a sealable container, toss that in your fridge. So close. All right, perfect. All right, so going back to the ranch, we just get to add everything into this bowl and then mix it all together. So for our ranch, we have that 1 cup of plain Greek yogurt, whatever kind of your choosing that you'd like. Then we're going to add in half a teaspoon of salt. One teaspoon of black pepper, so quite a bit of pepper here. All right. 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. Lots of similar ingredients here, which is really nice across these 2 recipes, because then you just have to buy them once if you don't already have them. 1 teaspoon. One teaspoon of onion powder. 1 teaspoon of dried parsley. Now, I know it'd be easier to just go to the store, especially they make those Greek yogurt ranches and blue cheese now, right? It'd be easier to go do that, I know. But 1, this is a little bit more fun. 2, you don't have to deal with all of those additives. You're seeing all the ingredients right now that we're going to add. There's no extra preservatives. Oops. And sorry, for our dill, we're going half a teaspoon. All those extra preservatives. But if you do want to, and you still want to make it a little bit, you can always, I've seen it made with just by adding like those ranch packets, like Hidden Valley Ranch makes their seasoning packets. So you can always, you know, grab your Greek yogurt, which is still a better option than choosing like mayonnaise or sour cream based, and add that packet. So we've added all of our ingredients. So we're just going to go ahead and mix this up. You can also tell these are just super quick and easy to make. So again, another thing to take if you're going to a party coming up, we have all those barbecues, bake these. Then you can throw these dressings, these dips on the side, and see how many people realize. Greek yogurt is just such a great substitute especially for sour cream on tacos. Adds in that extra protein. So I encourage you to try it if you have not. It literally smells just like ranch. It's amazing. All right, so we have our ranch, and that is done. I'm going to move that off to the side. Next is blue cheese. So for our blue cheese, I've already added in that Greek yogurt like you saw earlier. Next, we are going to go ahead and add in the blue cheese crumbles. And our recipe calls for 4 ounces, but you start by adding in half of the crumbles into the bowl. So I'm going to go ahead and jump on here, change my units to ounces, clear out, and we're going 2 ounces. This part gets tricky, right? Once we add it, we can't take it back. So try to go a little bit here at a time. It's always great. You can throw this onto a salad or with your extra blue cheese. If you are making these as dressings, super easy to do. You just follow the exact same recipe. You're just going to add some water to it to make the consistency a bit thinner, more like a dressing, rather than these are quite thick, like a dip. So we added in half of our blue cheese. Now we're going to mash the blue cheese with a fork into our Greek yogurt without spilling it everywhere is the goal. Depending on the consistency you like of your blue cheese, if you like it a bit more mashed up, maybe you add in your blue cheese first before the Greek yogurt. Like me, I was just trying to save myself a little bit of time by just doing both Greek yogurts at the same time. All right, so we got that blue cheese in there. So we're at blue cheese and Greek yogurt. Next, we're going to add in some apple cider vinegar. So we have 1.5 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar. So apple cider vinegar is quite popular. It's been used for centuries as a home remedy in cooking and medicine. And I feel like it's slightly a buzz ingredient right now. So I highly encourage you to read up on it, because there are many studies still out there about the benefits of apple cider vinegar, which is essentially just fermenting the sugar from apples. Oh, sorry, I forgot that I have. It is not recommended to drink straight apple cider vinegar because it does ruin the enamel of your teeth. So you should at least mix it into water, though. All right, apple cider vinegar added. Next, lemon juice. And we're going to add in 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. Definitely would be better with fresh lemon juice. But I tried to keep with that theme of simple and easy this time around. All right. 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, 1/8 a teaspoon of salt. We're going to do a little pinch of that. 1/8 a teaspoon of black pepper. and also 2 tablespoons of water. Let's just give this a little bit of a mix up first before I add in that water. All right. Two tablespoons of water. Then we're going to mix this all up before we add in the rest of our blue cheese. So that lemon juice and that apple cider vinegar really help kind of get that sour-esque taste from our blue cheese. So you just want to make sure you mix this up nice and well because there are more of those liquids in here. But that blue cheese and the Greek yogurt kind of eats it up right away. It is a bit of a thinner consistency than your ranch, but still pretty thick. All right, next we're going to finish off by just adding in the rest of our blue cheese. So we have 2 more ounces of blue cheese. Just take a quick check and see how those, oh, they are looking good. The tops are starting to brown. We have, I don't know, about 6 minutes from the 20-minute mark. All right. 2 more ounces of blue cheese. So we're going to go ahead and mix this all up. I do recommend choosing a dish a little bit bigger than mine. I'm being very careful here not to mix it up. I know it's going to get eaten here soon because although I'm having the buffalo chicken meatballs for dinner, I'm going to sneak some of this dip and veggies we're going to cut here in a moment as a snack. So be quite as overflowing. All right, now we have our blue cheese. Smells just like blue cheese. It's mind-blowing to me. All right, so buffalo chicken meatballs are in the oven. Greek yogurt ranch and blue cheese are done. Last but not least, and this is just something that I added in, although on the recipe card, you will see that it says celery or carrots if you want to add them. Again, I just feel like it goes with that buffalo theme, and it's great to throw in, especially as a party dish, but also if you're having this as your main dish, just to get some of those veggies in, right? So I have my celery here. It is already washed. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut this up very quickly, cutting to the size of your liking. So celery is almost 95% water. It just has a ton of fiber. So it's a great lower calorie snack option. It's going to help you stay full for a long time. And let's be real, right? The shape of celery, it's just like a vessel for dipping. I don't really like those ones. So, all right. Celery, carrots. All right, everyone. I cheated a little bit. I just already got bagged, cleaned, cut, and peeled baby carrots. We're going to toss those on here. And then we can dip into our ranch. Fantastic. Double dipping, don't tell anyone. Blue cheese. Very, very good. Highly recommend both of those. Super quick and easy to make. Not a ton of ingredients. You kind of almost use the same thing, especially if you have members of your family that like one and members of your family that like the other. So super easy just to add in both. Let's take a quick peek here on how our buffalo chicken meatballs are doing. And they look just about done. So I'm going to go ahead and pull them out real quick. And we can do a quick temperature check on them just to be sure. Again, like I said, I like them a little crispy. So I add in that air fryer right before I want to eat them, just for a few minutes to get them nice and crispy. Let's go ahead and find the biggest one here. Perfect. We are all done with those. I am just going to scoop a couple on a plate here, even though they're still pretty hot, just to show you. And I'll just add them to my snack. I'm just going to toss a little bit of extra hot sauce on the top of these. So then I can throw the rest on those later. All right, there we have it, folks. Buffalo chicken meatballs, carrots, celery, Greek yogurt, overflowing blue cheese. You got to see those crumbles. Crumbles, the glare. Maybe a little bit we can see them. And honestly, I did prefer the ranch a little bit more. There's our ranch. All right, that is all we have today. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a fantastic rest of the day. If you give this recipe a try, let us know what you think, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks.